Darrell Issa of California, Republican of California. Congressman, thanks very much for joining us. We want you to talk about Treasury Secretary Tim Geithner. He's going to be hauled in front of Congress tomorrow. I think you want him to be fired. Is that correct, Congressman?
Well, I certainly want to know the whole truth about what he, and for that matter, Chairman Bernanke, were doing in covering up and hiding from us, even till today, the actions around the $180 billion bailout of AIG. And I think, you know, you just had Art Laffer on. He's a friend and somebody I rely on for a lot of good ideas. You know, he makes a point that I think you missed, which is it true that only Tim Geithner can save America? Is it true that only Bernanke can run the Fed? I think we sell ourselves short to thinking that there aren't lots of viable alternatives. And in this case, we can't not second guess what Tim Geithner did. It cost us $62 billion that we're not going to get back.
So you're saying that he is very closely associated with the Wall Street bailout, the bailout of the banks. He had a role in that bailout. Now he's got a role in the secrecy angle of AIG, and he's not worthy to hold that job. We can do better. But I put it to you, Congressman, if he was forced to resign, if he was pushed out, wouldn't there be a negative market reaction to that? Wouldn't my 401k go down because of that?
But remember, the market went down and it came back up. I think we have to have faith that the stock market reflects the earnings and the future earnings of the market. And whether it's Richard Nixon resigning or Tim Geithner being asked not to further represent the president after more has learned about what he did when he represented the previous president, I think that has more to do with a one-day or a five-day event and not with the long-term investments in the market. You know, I think Art Laffer agreed with you that the market could go down if Ben Bernanke were not reappointed. But if Ben Bernanke, in fact, was part of us losing tens or hundreds of billions of dollars that might have been unnecessary, then would you really want him there for a number of years in which we could have another crisis that he would make the decision in secrecy on?
If Treasury Secretary Geithner's job depended upon a vote in Congress, I know it does not, it depends upon the president's support, but if it were a vote in Congress, would he keep the job or lose it?
Well, first of all, man's got to know his limitations. If it depended on reconfirmation in the Senate by the senators that are there today, I don't think he'd keep his job. I think what we now know about Tim Geithner's actions would cause a lot of senators to second guess whether or not they could confirm him. But he is confirmed. He is the sole choice of the president. Our job is to make sure that the American people have all the facts about what he did under the previous president.
Congressman, would you just stay with us for a moment? I want to bring in your story about the new way of counting jobs created or jobs saved by this administration. That's very much your story. You uncovered it, and I want you to talk about it in just a moment. But before that,
thanks, Stuart.
Share. Back to Congressman Darrell Issa of California. He rejoins the company. So we want to talk about this, this new way that the White House has of counting the number of jobs created or saved from the stimulus program. Can you give us a brief look at how they propose to do this?
Well, Stuart, I think the best way to look at their new accounting system is lives touched, because what they're doing is they're simply saying if we spent money related to somebody's employment, send it to us. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think the administration can rightfully take credit that money sent to governments to employ government employees, teachers, and other government employees represent jobs that they funded. But just because the federal government is funding your state or local jobs doesn't mean that your city or your state is becoming more efficient, and it certainly doesn't mean that you're going to get a private sector job from the creation of anything. A minute ago you were talking about the Chicago. Do they build SUVs there or not? Well, at least in the case of Ford, those are real jobs that should go on for decades.
Okay, I've just got the latest number in on the projected deficit. It is $1.35 trillion for this current year. That's a little bit better than expected, 1.35 as opposed to 1.4 trillion. But Congressman, I'm sure you've got a lot to say about trillion-dollar deficits that go on forever. Quick comment, if you would.
In a nutshell, this is money that is being spent to prop up the size of government This deficit is related to government not being willing to make a cutback at a time when Americans are making cutbacks. Americans are working for less, they're working longer and harder, and they're trying to figure out how to be competitive in a global world. If government would do even half as much as the private sector is doing, we'd already be out of this recession. The fact is, government is the overhead that's weighing down that money. That money, that $1.3 trillion borrowed from China and other countries, is money not available for American entrepreneurs.
Congressman Darrell Issa, a pleasure. Thanks so much for joining us on Varney & Company. We appreciate it, sir. Thank you.